Shout out to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. I can't wait to tell you about the deal they're offering, so stay tuned. A popular YouTuber who goes by RGT85 recently published a video called Why Every Nintendo Switch Owner Needs a Steam Deck. I've watched it already and I thought it was a good, fun video, and I kind of wanted to address some of the things he talked about, so I'm making this into a sort of light and lighthearted reaction style video. By the way, I don't always make these reaction style videos, so I kind of want to say that my reaction to a channel or a video is not necessarily an endorsement of that channel. RGT85 seems like a good dude and I've watched his videos from time to time, but just like anyone else, I've seen him say things that I strongly disagree with. That extends to this reaction as well. There are things that I agree with and some things that I don't agree with. This is purely just for fun. I had some extra time this week and I found RGT's video got me really thinking, and I thought it'd be a fun way to share my thoughts as well as to hear yours. So as we go through, definitely let me know what you think in the comments. Also drop a like on this video so it spreads to more people. And if you're new here, I'm Richard, this is Fan of Deck, and I make Steam Deck videos. If you have a Steam Deck or are thinking about getting one, hit that subscribe. Okay, let's get into it and hear what RGT had to say.
So recently, of course, I ended up acquiring a Steam Deck for the very first time, and I was pretty impressed with the system. I, of course, made an initial video talking about my experiences after a couple days with it, and for the most part, it was pretty positive. Yes, there are some drawbacks to the platform, but for the most part, I was pleasantly surprised. I was really enjoying my time with this system.
I'll pause here. So you likely already know, but in case you don't, RGT85 is a YouTuber who has done a lot of retro game content, but he also kind of cut his teeth with Nintendo Switch content. I made a video a while ago about other big Switch-based personalities like Wood Hawker and Bob Wolf and the arc of their relationship with the Steam Deck. Many people that are super engaged on my channel are really excited about the Steam Deck, so our arc is just a straight line up. But there are also a ton of people that are interested in the Steam Deck, but kind of wonder if maybe it's going to be redundant or not interesting enough to be a main device for their lifestyle. Then they kind of quickly go to, why would I buy a multi-platform game on Switch when I can just buy it on Steam Deck? Right from the outset, I'm wondering if RGT will go down this road either in this video or after a few weeks of owning the Steam Deck. All right, let's jump back in.
But of course, when you talk about something like a Steam Deck, you automatically start to get comparisons to a Nintendo Switch. I made some jokes in my video talking about, oh, I'm no longer covering the Nintendo Switch or anything like that. I'm going to be an all Steam Deck channel. Obviously, that was just a joke, but a lot of people take that sort of mentality and start to run with it because of how we're preconditioned as consumers. Everything is sort of a war, you know, Mercedes versus BMW. Mercedes is better, but is it really better? No, that's just my opinion. And when you look at something like a Steam Deck and you look at something like a Nintendo Switch, they're very similar systems. Both have a strong portable aspect to them. Both can be docked and played on your television. So you automatically get involved in these console wars when talking about one system or another. I'm not a big fan of console wars unless we're talking about the YouTube channel Console Wars, which of course takes a look at old games from Sega and Nintendo and compares them together. Great channel. I love those guys. I remember one of the guys was doing Seek and Destroy one year at Too Many Games After Party. Seek and Destroy! Shout out to Dan from Console Wars. Make sure you guys check them out if you haven't yet. But I think Console Wars are dumb. And I think everyone tries to engage in a console war with the Steam Deck and a Nintendo Switch.
So that Console Wars channel sounds really interesting. I've actually never watched it. I'll have to check some of those videos. But yeah, here RGT is talking about the comparisons of the Steam Deck to the Nintendo Switch. I both agree with the point he's making and also think that the backlash to the comparisons has become a bit overblown. A lot of people will say they're completely different. Why are we comparing them? And I don't really understand that sentiment. These are two extremely different devices, but I don't totally understand why that precludes them from comparison, especially when they do in fact have strong similarities. I don't think we should get into any sort of console war, and I've always been of the mind that more is better. But there are a couple reasons why these comparisons are in fact helpful. First, people do occasionally have to choose between two disparate things. If you're watching this video, you're probably like me and have gotten asked for advice when buying a game console. I've been asked on many occasions if a person should get a new graphics card or the hot new console. Of course, the answer is it depends, but then we get to have a whole conversation about what it is that they're looking for and what are their constraints, and that's when I make a recommendation. That brings me to the second reason that comparisons are helpful, which is that they serve as a reference point. Something like 100 million people own a Switch, and many of them have no idea what a Steam Deck is. Many of them may have had zero interest in PC gaming before this. For some of these people, the Nintendo Switch may serve as an amazing reference point. You can start with the similarities and then start explaining why it's also different from a Switch. So yeah, the last thing I want to do is be part of a console war. That's lame. But I'm someone that doesn't really get the apples and oranges thing. I mean, apples and oranges can be compared, and so too can the Steam Deck and Switch. But you know what can't be compared? Our sponsor, Squarespace. Look, I've done it all. I've built sites from scratch. I've used content management systems. I've used static site generators, but nothing compared to my experience of using Squarespace. Squarespace has excellent features for creating a blog, starting an online store, and finding the right audience using their SEO tools. They have pre-built layouts that are professional looking and customizable, so you can still make your site look unique. So head over to squarespace.com/fandadeck to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain using my code FANDADECK.
But I think console wars are dumb. And I think everyone tries to engage in a console war with the Steam Deck and a Nintendo Switch. And the more I've been playing my Steam Deck, I finally had that epiphany. I finally had that aha moment. It's not about which system is better, because better is subjective. It's more so about why, if you have a Nintendo Switch, you should probably have a Steam Deck too, because they complement each other so well, it's ridiculous. There are things that the Nintendo Switch offers that the Steam Deck doesn't offer. There are things that the Steam Deck offers that the Nintendo Switch doesn't offer. And of course, if you have both of these systems together, you have a myriad of different handheld and console experiences that you can't get with anything else out on the market.
Why not both, right? This is the main thesis of RGT's video, and I absolutely agree. It's hard to suggest that people go out and spend money. We don't know what everyone's situation is, and RGT goes on to address that as well. But generally speaking, if you own and enjoy the Nintendo Switch, you're going to enjoy the Steam Deck, even if you don't want to tinker. The exception to that is if you want to specifically play Nintendo games. Yes, you can emulate on the Steam Deck, but not everyone that wants to play Nintendo games wants to deal with emulating, obviously. Generally speaking though, again, if you like the Switch, chances are high you'll like the Steam Deck.
So a Steam Deck is a bit of an investment, I understand that, but I feel like your investment is worthwhile because of one of the main things that the Steam Deck offers you. That, of course, being the ability to play your games on your Steam account. But when you're talking about the library of games available on Steam, it is vastly different than the library of games on a Nintendo Switch. A Nintendo Switch, a Nintendo product. Why do most people buy a Nintendo product? Simply to play Nintendo-related IPs, because that's what people want out of Nintendo. Your Marios, your Legend of Zeldas, your Metroids, although there's only like 2.9 million of you that would want to pick up a Metroid game, a Fire Emblem, a Xenoblade Chronicles. Nintendo's IPs are legendary, and people want to play these games, and of course, you can only play them on your Nintendo Switch.
I know. Yes, you can use emulators to play Switch games on Steam Deck, that's true. But, and I know I'm stating the obvious, but it kind of needs to be said, the experience of playing those games is still much better on a Switch than a Steam Deck. It's more convenient, has better image quality, better performance, better battery life, potentially a better screen if you have the OLED. I love emulation, and I choose to play my Switch games on Steam Deck because I just prefer to have one device I'm carrying around. But it's obviously better on native hardware than on the Steam Deck specifically. That said, if you ask me which library I'd rather have, only Steam or only Nintendo Switch, that decision is a no-brainer to me. If you've seen my channel, you see how much I love indie games. Switch is a great platform for indies, and yet it pales in comparison to Steam. That's before we get to stuff like Cyberpunk, GTA, God of War, Halo, etc. If I could only have one library, I would choose the Steam library every single time. Here's RGT talking about it himself.
That is where the Steam Deck really starts to shine though, because yeah, you're not going to get the latest Mario or Zelda available on your Steam Deck, but you're going to get a bunch of games that you'll want to play portably that you couldn't so far.
Shout out to JSOX.
Lately, I've been playing a ton of third-party games on my Steam Deck, and I've been pleasantly surprised. The last two games that I've been playing are Grand Theft Auto 5 and Madden 23. Now, Grand Theft Auto 5 should have came to the Switch. Then talking about something like Madden 23. I get it. A lot of people don't like EA, but a lot of people do like football. And there's only one way to play a football game right now, and that is by playing Madden.
I don't particularly care for football myself, but I did make a video about playing EA games, including Madden on the Steam Deck, and yeah, you guys really came for me in the comments on that one. I've got to say, I've got major gripes with many AAA big publishers for past and present transgressions, and this includes EA. Not only that, but I don't really have a strong connection to IPs or companies. I'm more interested in the next Kojima game than in the next Metal Gear or Silent Hill or whatever. And even with all that, I'm open to the idea of EA maybe not being as bad as they used to be. I think it's important to look at the leadership in these companies. Xbox had some rough times with Don Matrick, but has been very pro-consumer consumer with Phil Spencer. Even Microsoft as a whole, they've done a complete turnaround since bringing on Satya Nadella as CEO. Similarly, a lot of the most recent bad times at EA were during John Riccitiello's tenure, and perhaps unsurprisingly, he's gotten himself into trouble since leaving EA and heading up Unity. Meanwhile, EA has been dropping amazing games like Jedi Fallen Order and It Takes Two. Yeah, they rushed Battlefield to market. There's no question that that was a terrible and unforced error on their part. But generally speaking, EA has been surprisingly solid. I'm fully aware that the pendulum will one day swing back towards EA being crappy. I'm not tied to like EA being good actually. I'm just saying that right now, EA is doing alright.
So with games like Grand Theft Auto, Fallout, Madden, these third-party games that are not available on your Switch, that's where the Steam Deck comes in, and it runs these games beautifully. Like, I've had zero issues with these games. Now, there is some login stuff that you have to do because you're essentially using a personal computer. I don't know why I said a PC like that, but it's essentially a handheld PC, so you have to do things like Origin login for EA and Rockstar servers for Rockstar, which is an absolute pain in the ass, and they should get rid of that. I hate it.
Yeah, the extra logins need to go. I wish that I could connect my Steam account to these services once and then never have to worry about it again. That said, this is happening more and more on consoles too, isn't it? I don't actually know this for a fact. I just thought there were more logins happening on console these days. Let me know in the comments if that's true.
If you're looking at it from a non-competitive standpoint, if you're looking at it from just a game standpoint, they're great complementary systems. You also have the fact that a lot of Sony games and pretty much every Xbox game is available on Steam. So you don't have to buy an Xbox in order to play the Xbox exclusives when you could just play them on Steam. Gamepass is coming to Steam soon as well, and they're wanting to put it on the Steam Deck.
Does RGT know something we don't know? We've been asking for native Game Pass on Steam and Steam Deck for a while now, but there hasn't been any hint that it's actually coming. That'd be wonderful.
Now, I will say that one of the drawbacks of the Steam Deck that I've been experiencing is playing the system in docked mode, where when you have a Nintendo Switch and you put it into docked mode, you get better performance, you get better visuals most of the time. With the Steam Deck, it doesn't seem to be the case at all. The dock doesn't really do anything but just sort of make the picture bigger, the 1200 by 800 picture that's already available. And if you try to sort of, dial it in with your TV, a lot of older games look good. Ultra Street Fighter 4 looks pretty damn good, but a game like Spider-Man, it looks very jaggy and very, sort of rough around the edges. Now, this is not available. The Steam dock, the official Steam dock that is not available yet. It's coming out soon, and Steam does seem to be working on some stuff to make the experience better and more enhanced with their official Steam dock. You're only using third-party stuff right now.
So this video was published after the official docking station was available, but it was obviously made before it was available. I've been there. I do wonder how old this video is exactly, because the resolution thing he mentioned has been addressed for some time. You can in fact change the resolution of games. I'll admit it's more clunky than it is on Switch, where you dock and the game may go from 720p to 1080p automatically. That said, I do have a bit of a pet peeve when people sort of complain that a dock doesn't unlock more power for the Steam Deck, but it does for the Switch. Like, you do know what that actually means is that the Steam Deck lets you choose to have the maximum power even in handheld mode, whereas Switch forces you to have lower power. It's one of those weird human nature things where some people would have been more pleased with an objectively less good solution, like you can only go up to 12 watts in handheld mode, but you could go up to the full 15 when docked. Still though, I otherwise agree. Docking on Switch is still more seamless, and I can see how someone would prefer it compared to docking on the Steam Deck.
It doesn't make sense to me at all when they're two different experiences. However, they complement each other so well, and it's just going to get better once things like Game Pass come to the Steam Deck as well natively, because you can kind of run Game Pass on it, but it's kind of herky-jerky. I'm talking about natively. It's coming natively to the system, and then it's just going to be a whole new ball game. And it's a ball game that Nintendo Switch owners should embrace. You shouldn't be angry at the Steam Deck. You should want a Steam Deck.
Once again, this is on point. This goes back to if you like the Switch, you'd like the Steam Deck. I agree with that. The thing I agree with a little less is that they complement each other. I mean, to be fair, if we're strictly talking video games, then the Switch is a better complement to the Steam Deck than a PlayStation or Xbox, since I can get many of those games on the Steam Deck, but I can't get the new Mario and Rabbids on my Steam Deck without emulation. But generally speaking, RGT didn't spend a lot of time saying why the Switch is still valuable in a post-Steam Deck world. And I'm not saying it's not valuable, I just would have liked to have seen some time dedicated to that too. Instead, the assumption was mostly that you already have a Switch, and chances are that you do. That's true. I personally haven't played my Switch at all this year. That's completely anecdotal, and it's not me trying to start a console war. I just think that if other people are experiencing the same thing, then it's proof of something that we already know to be true. The Nintendo Switch is getting, or has gotten, quite long in the tooth. It's time for a refresh, and Nintendo, being Nintendo, is pretending to be oblivious to this. I've learned long ago to never count Nintendo out, and right now is no different. But boy, am I wondering what they have in store next, and if it could possibly pull me away even a little from the death grip hold that the Steam Deck currently has on me. Alright folks, this was a little different from my normal style of video. Drop a like if you enjoyed it, or a dislike if you didn't, but don't forget to tell me why in the comments. If you want ad-free versions of my videos, join my Patreon where I will be providing these from now on. Otherwise, have a wonderful rest of your week. Deck Gang out. Goodbye!